Good evening, folks. And here we are once again back with Let's Talk Radio with a Y, R-A-D-Y-O, with myself, host Robert Vaughn. We have our panel, Mike Shomo and Vero Majid. And today we have a special guest. We have a guest, our guest for today is Basheer Jones. Councilman Jones is a Ward 7 councilman from Cleveland, Ohio. And he was elected in November 2017. So he didn't just get there. He's the city's first Muslim council representative. He represents an area which includes Huff, as well as St. Clair Superior, Midtown, and Asia Town neighborhoods. Councilman Jones serves as the vice chair on the Health and Human Services Committee and also sits on development, planning, and sustainability, safety, and workforce and community benefits. Councilman Jones was born in Brooklyn, New York, and moved to Cleveland. How often do you see that? Usually it's the other way around, you know. You're born in Cleveland and moved to Brooklyn. But he was born in Brooklyn, moved to New York when he was a child. And here's something I have in common with him, not trying to brag or anything, but he graduated cum laude from Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia, earning a degree in African American Studies. And that when you graduate cum laude, that means you got a 3.9, 3.8, 3.9. So you're basically a straight A student. And he's been recognized nationally for his grassroots activism relating to issues of social injustice, empowering those who are left out of the American dream. During the 2008 presidential election, he was instrumental in Barack Obama's victory in Cuyahoga County. He was very involved in hosting rallies, organizing youth voters, organizing different voter registrations. So he, you can, one thing about Cleveland, Ohio, Cuyahoga County, you can tell who's going to be president. If you just go down the Board of Elections and see how long the line is. If the line's around the block, that means the Democrat's going to win. And if it's like 10 people line, that's usually not a good sign. So he had a hand in making sure that the line was around the block. As a matter of fact, I remember when I drove up, the first person I saw was Jesse Jackson, and then Al Sharpton. I said, "Okay, well, we got this one," So that was really something. He's received various accolades for his work. He got a leadership award from formerly U.S. Representative, but now Housing and Urban Development Secretary Marcia Fudge, the Urban League's Distinguished Men Award. He's also a member of the NAACP and A Phi A fraternity. Councilman Jones was the youngest news talk radio show host when he was on Basheer Jones and Company on WERE, which is an AM station in town. Well, he also has a book out, I'll Speak for Change. Now, I could go on and on, but I'm going to stop there because we only have an hour for the show. So without further hesitation, I'm going to kick it off. And I just want to ask you, Councilman Jones, why do you want to be mayor and why did you decide to run now?
Well, I haven't fully made my decision as of yet. Something that my team and I are heavily thinking about. But I think that, if it's something that we decide to do, I think it's a simple reason. This city has so much potential, and it takes the right leadership, the right vision, the right energy to really bring that out. And we're clear that the way that we've been going is not the direction that we need to go. So, I'm still a consideration, a heavy one, but man, the work that we've done in Ward 7, we've literally hit home runs. You're talking about a city, a neighborhood where we have over $1 billion of development in our neighborhood, brand new hospital and university hospital, 2 brand new hotels, True Hilton on Euclid and Residence Inn Hotel on 101st. You're talking about the Cleveland Foundation has decided to move into Ward 7. These aren't things that just happen. This is intentional work. And I think that Cleveland has that same potential, but you have to have the right leadership in place.
And I think we would like to see that in the rest of the city. And you have to forgive me, I know you haven't made your decision to run yet, but a lot of people want you to run, and I think you know that. with that, I'll turn it over to Mike. Mike, I'm sure has a question for you.
How's it going?
Mike, what's up, man?
The first thing that we know that the leadership is one of the problems in this city. And my first thought is that you've done so much good work, and I've been following you for a while, being Muslim and everything also, and I've been following you and watching it. And I had another question that I was going to ask, but I'm just going to leave that question alone and ask you, like, you run for mayor, but you have to give up your seat to run for mayor, and you've done so much good work, in your ward. Would your residents suffer behind that?
They say that the juiciest fruit is on the shakiest branch, and being a Morehouse man and growing up in this neighborhood, we recognize that just being a Black man in America every day is a risk. Just to walk down the street, it's a risk. And if we fear what tomorrow might bring, we won't be able to tap into our greatest potential. So, I would much rather leave a place that wanted me to stay than stay in a place that wanted me to leave. So I'm happy that the residents of Ward 7 are excited and are appreciative of the work and want me to continue it. But what I'm have to consider, Brother Mike, is what we were able to do in Ward 7. A whole city is in need of that energy. A whole city is in need of how we've been able to not only bring development, but develop people. As I tell the developers, you can't just build buildings without building people. You have to do both at the same time. And Cleveland has so much potential. And the fact is, what people have to understand is that Blackness is not sufficient if there's no Black consciousness. And you've had a lot of people who have been in position for 20, 30, 40 years, and their neighborhoods are still suffering. Now, we know that there's some suffering that's taking place and will take place. We understand that there's 400 years of enslavement and structural racism, so that can't change in 4 years. We understand that. But what I tell my residents is that we have a whole city that needs love, and we have a whole city that needs someone to fight for it. And if it's a decision that we make, I'm going to make sure that the next person who comes shares that same love that I have.
Well, that's basically what I'm saying as far as the leadership and how you led. Do you have somebody that you would mentor to fall into, take into your shoes and walk into your shoes that you have all
brother Mike, man, ever since I got in this position, because that's one of the issues within Cleveland is the lack of succession planning. We don't prepare the next generation because we want to die with the torch in our hand. So ever since I got in the office, I've been preparing somebody.
Okay.
So yes.
That is great.
Earl?
Brother Basheer, thank you so much for joining us. One of the things I wanted to ask you was, it's a real crowded field. There's quite a few candidates running. And I think Mayor Jackson is kind of on the fence. I guess he wants to see what he's going to be up against. But and I'm sure people are wondering this, what makes you feel that you're the most qualified for this position?
Yeah, but Mayor Jackson, I appreciate the work that he's done. He's someone who I have a lot of respect for. Listen, you can't throw away over 30 years of service. He's dedicated his life to service, and I'll never disrespect that, and I won't allow anyone else to disrespect it in front of me. But at the same time, we have to become a city where we have to become a city where we're able to make peaceful transitions. Our team can't ever win the championship when a person who should be the coach still want to shoot the threes.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's time for the generation before me, and before the generation before me, Mayor Jackson is like over 70 years old, and Much respect to our brothers and sisters from that age range, but at some point you have to transition to the wise man who provides leadership for the next generation. Because if not, what happens is that every generation ends up falling into the same hole as the generation previous to it, because no one got the opportunity to have the experience to learn the lesson. I can remember some of the elders of the community telling me, well, if you want to, come take it, rather than let me prepare you to take on leadership instead of it being a battle.
Yeah.
So, Mayor Jackson, he has a lot of, he has to, listen, he has some things he has to figure out, but, my decision is not predicated on what Mayor Jackson does. The second thing is you have a crowded field. You do. But if people were to really, as I just told Plain Dealer this just a couple of weeks ago, as they were asking me what my decision was, and I said, well, let's say I do it, right? If you gave me a fair shake, you would see that there is no competition in regards of activism, working and fighting on behalf of the community. And one blogger, he wrote something recently. He said, Basheer, if he runs for mayor, he has no chance. He has a lot of win, but his sales, because he's too arrogant. And I responded to him with this. I said, I am the first Muslim city councilman in Cleveland's history. I came from the homeless shelters of Cleveland and graduated with honors from Morehouse College, getting my master's this May in theology. I grew up in the streets of Huff in St. Clair and Superior. But you think I'm arrogant, but you don't know my story. Right? So any Black man that speaks with diction and with knowledge, he has to be considered arrogant. But I'm not the Black man to walk around with my head down. I walk with my back straight and my head up, and I have experienced the human condition. So I have mistakes and flaws like everyone, but I won't allow my sins to take me away from my salvation. I must move forward. God has me on his path, and I'm not going to stop until he decides it's not my direction. So the point I'm making is, if you were to look at what people have done, not what they say they're going to do, if you look at what I've done in my first term, and I want you brothers to think about this for 1 second. We know that in my first term, which is 4 years, a year of that was COVID. So everything was shut down. I haven't even finished my 4th year and hasn't even gotten to January, which would be January 2022, which would be the ending of the 4th year. So in 2 years, brothers, I've been able to change the culture with great people, with great support within Ward 7. Over thousands of new jobs in Ward 7. Over $1 billion of investment in Ward 7. You're talking about over $1 billion of investment in Ward 7. You're talking about, and the majority of development that's taking place in my neighborhood, Black people are a part of it. Whether they're the architects, they're the developers, they're not just construction workers and holding the stop sign, right? We're talking about brand new home ownership. Over 2,000 new doors is being built in my neighborhood. Over millions of dollars of new parks and recreation centers. Because I told them, you can't just get mad at young people standing on the corner when we don't have nothing else for them to do, right? You look at the legislation that I've passed, declaring racism a public health crisis, which it wasn't that. If you ask me a little bit later, I'll tell you what it really should have been. Putting legislation to remove Christopher Columbus Day for Indigenous People Day. Look at the person who's been standing up for people, fighting for against the condition of the Cuyahoga County Jail, spending a night on 79th and Superior, leading the marches against the police brutality. No one can compare. No person on that roster can compare with the work that we have done for especially Black people in this city. They can't compare. No one can compare. And we just have to be given the opportunity if that's what God wills.
Right. Recently, one thing I got to applaud you for, when you stood up for the Asian community, and they were going through some things which we've encountered for many years. Now they're feeling it, and you really stepped forward, before anybody else, and took a stand on their behalf, and made that one restaurant kind of have some successful business. I thought that was showing real leadership and being very progressive.
This is a blessing, man. This comes from our faith of standing up for justice, no matter who it's for and no matter who it's against.
Right. Yeah, one of the problems that Cleveland has had of course, we're a little older than you, and we remember a time when there was leadership who would take time to groom the next generation. But it seemed like maybe about 30 years ago, there was a void. And just like you spoke of, there's nobody getting the next leadership generation ready. And I think for a long time, there was a lack of leadership. I mean, I even think today, when you look at some things like, Cleveland had a voting percentage of 52% turnout, and while Detroit had 76% and Atlanta had 89%. And I don't think that Detroit and Atlanta are much more progressive than Cleveland is, but I think they have leadership. They have a lot of people like yourself. They have leaders that are able to mobilize people to make the condition better. Cleveland, I think
I would argue that Atlanta is definitely more progressive than Cleveland. And it started out with Maynard Jackson, who made sure in his while he was mayor, he said something very powerful. He said, and he was mentored by Carl Stokes. So we were progressive as a city. We were progressive at a time when we chose the first Black mayor over a city that was predominantly white. I just finished reading the book, The Promises of Power by Carl Stokes. And he talked about how Maynard Jackson came up under him. And Maynard Jackson said, listen, you can't do business in this city unless a certain percentage go to Black people. And if you go down to Atlanta, you see Black wealth. You see Black wealth. And you don't have to be an entertainer. You don't have to be a basketball player to live a good life in Atlanta. You go down there, you'll see that. So in Cleveland, we don't have the progressive. We're not progressive in Cleveland.
We don't have the leadership. We don't have the leadership.
And also, Brother Vaughn, when you look at okay, the city of Cleveland is a $2 billion, basically 1.8, but let's say a $2 billion corporation. Less than 5% of the contracts go to Black people.
Exactly.
And you have a Black mayor, you have a majority Black council, and I'm telling you right now, and this is for everybody to hear and listen. I'm telling you right now, the reason why Black people are suffering in the city of Cleveland is because of Black leadership. Okay, Black lethargic leadership that are silent about Black suffering openly and in the back rooms where deals are being made. I'm telling you what I know.
Well,
I'm telling you that in the room.
That's one of the things. That's one of the things that I wholeheartedly believe, because see, I always say that our leaders, whether it's unconsciously or consciously, have sold us out, because they make deals with the corporations. They make deals to put. We talk about with Cleveland Clinic, University Hospital, and these places. I work for both of them. But the thing is that here you have a city. I don't know if this was back in the 70s and 80s, where they had House Bill 584. You ever heard of that?
Please remind me.
House Bill 584 said that every contract that was given from the city to the county to the state, 20% or 25% had to be Black. It had to have Black. I go past places where they building stuff even today, and I look around and I say, where the Black people at? Where they at? Because see, they took shop and things out of the school system, but they put them into the white neighborhoods and call it construction tech. Where they're teaching these the white kids how to estimate the jobs, how to figure out the taxes, how to
Brother Mike, I'm gonna tell you, Brother Mike, I don't even mind that. I don't mind that the Italians are taken care of, that the Irish are taken care of, that the Jewish community are taken care of. I'm okay with everybody eating. The problem I have is that Black people are not eating. That's the problem I have.
That's what I'm saying.
The problem I have is that you have an entire city that's majority Black. I told a Black official this the other day. I said, number one, don't call me a minority. I'm the majority in this city, and I'm the majority in this world. I'm not going to take a minority mindset. So what I'm saying is that I don't mind everybody being taken care of. The problem is that Black people are still suffering. As I said, $2 billion corporation, less than 5% of contracts are going to Black people. And I don't like when people say minority, because when they say minority, they just bunch up people of color, right? So they say, oh, well, I said to them, how many police officers are minority? They say about 20-something%. I said, okay, let's be more specific. How many are Black? 12%. How many are Black women? 14%. How many are Hispanic men? How many are Hispanic women? So do you know that our police department is 60% white men?
Yeah.
60%. 60% white. Every 10 officers, 6 of them are white men, not white women, white men.
See,
So
back
what I'm saying, brother, what I'm saying, brother Mike, is this: is that how why do we keep on falling into the same hole? We keep falling into the same hole.
Because you know why? Can I tell you?
I agree with you.
I'm gonna let me, if I can hop in here. I think one of the main reasons we fall into the same hole is we don't vote.
Right.
And you can get the same people that have been screwing up for years to get reelected and reelected. Because if you win with 51% of the vote and 50% of the people aren't voting, then you can actually win with only 25% of people in the city supporting you.
Well,
so if you get support from 1 out of every 4 people, which is basically a turnout election, you know, and usually in Cleveland for years it's been the police and the firefighter have done a lot, and the unions have turned out a lot of votes for the candidate they support. And this
Robert, that's white solidarity, and we got to have some Black solidarity.
No, they support some Black. They support some Black people that do what they want them to do. And
well, that's white solidarity. Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
Yeah. So what we got to do, that's why the activism is so important, because we got to re-educate this electorate so that they will become involved and motivated, and then encourage their children and others to participate. You know, the last time I saw this was when Carl Stokes was running. Every Black person, it was Cleveland Now, that was his program. Every Black person was on board. We didn't win the first time, but we just got more galvanized. Say again?
They had the CETA program.
Yep.
Yeah, they had, I remember James Braxton, a gentleman named James Braxton, used to recruit Blacks to get trained in the construction industry.
Right.
You know,
but think about this though, brothers. Think about this. You don't have no new Black millionaires in this city, man. No new wealth in this city. No new wealth has been created in this city. So then we wonder why. You know, go down to Atlanta and see how many Black millionaires. Go to Princess County, Maryland, see how many Black millionaires go. So what I'm saying is, and I'm not saying that Black millionaires it stops there, but the jobs, $50,000-$60,000, right? These are jobs that can allow. See, Cleveland is a city where you don't need a lot of money to live well here. You can live really well here, right? Making $50,000-$60,000, right? Those jobs, you don't have to go to Morehouse and get your master's or doctorate like me and get all this school debt. You can go become a fireman, become a police officer, you know, become this, become that, and have a good, decent living. See, what I'm doing right now, my focus is to get people registered to vote. I'm talking to these young people. I'm telling them, hey, listen, buy up your block, man. Right. That's not your block unless you own something on it. You just sitting in the neighborhood, it ain't yours. And you know what these young people are doing? They're buying up land, they're buying up houses. And you know what ends up happening when they do that? They don't want no violence on their block. Why not? Because now you own that house. You don't want to hit with bullets. There you go, brother Mike. There you go, brother Mike. Now you got a stake in the community. Right. And now when bullets shot, now the same gangsters that was in the community, they saying, no, you're not going to shoot up this block. Because this house, I own this house. My grandmother lives over there. My children live right there. They need to be excited. And the reason why Cleveland hasn't come out, they haven't been excited. Atlanta has been excited. Detroit has even been excited. And Cleveland had the potential because we led the country when it came to movements. Dr. King, how many times was Dr. King in Cleveland? How much was Malcolm was in Cleveland? Ballad of the Bullets. Dr. King was here. Every major movement came through Cleveland. Right. So we have to bring that back, man. And we can, and we will. I promise you. And we will.
You know, the numbers show that we can if we got the right leadership. Because see, Cleveland is 48% Black, 48%, and only 39%.
Cleveland, brother Mike. Cleveland is 51% Black. Cleveland is majority Black city.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. 48, you know, and they 40.
Now I ain't gonna take 48 because they'll say that we're not the majority. Cleveland is 51% Black. We are the majority. 51%.
Project 51, Jack. That's
we are the majority. And that's what I'm saying. The whole breakdown is, you know, but you know, 51%. We're as the Parliament Funkadelic, we're Chocolate City.
Hey, listen,
We are.
We're Chocolate City.
Brother Basheer. Now,
Yes, yeah.
let me ask you a question. We see that, you know, Cleveland gets its share of money, but we see that all the money is mostly spent in developing downtown. If it's below 30th Street, ain't nothing happening. How do we stop that?
Well, first, let me add something to that, Brother Majid. Cleveland is getting ready to receive $541 million from the CARES Act funding, man.
We understand.
$541 million. Cleveland has received, they are in the top 5 cities in the nation that has received this much money. Okay. So when you ask the question, there's two things to that. One, a lot of the development that you see happening in downtown has a lot to do with developers investing their own money. So of course, it's not the city necessarily investing, it's developers. But the problem that I have is that what the city needs to do is become open for business, which means we should not make it so hard for people who want to do business here. It's so hard to do business in Cleveland. Exactly. It takes a year to get a permit. It takes this and that and this and that. So what we have to do is we have to find a way. We have to find a way to truly, truly make this thing open for everyone to be able to do business. You have people who want to invest in, I mean, listen, downtown is not the hottest ward in the city. Ward 7 is the hottest ward in the city in regard to development. All you have to do is take a look at the development. Go to Chester. Go from you know, 25th and Chester and travel to 101st and Chester, and you'll see that we have the major institutions in our neighborhood. Major Cleveland Clinic, University Hospital, you know, Cleveland Foundation is moving up. Travel down 66. The new library that's coming. We got a new library, the new supermarket, Dave's Supermarket. So to answer your question, what's necessary is that we absolutely must make sure that if we have to make the processes better. When you come into City Hall, you should not feel worse than you felt when you walked in. Right? You should not feel worse. You should feel better. This is very important. And it's all about processes. It's about processes. When you pick up when you call downtown now, people answering the phone like they don't want to answer it.
Right.
You know, you feel it, you like that. You know, we don't like to call nobody.
That's a leadership issue. And I think we did a whole show on leadership, the lack of leadership. In 1920, Cleveland was the wealthiest city in the world. Wealthier than Paris, France, Munich, Germany, London, England, wealthiest city in the world, New York City. And it's been going down ever since because there's been a total lack of leadership.
That's it, bro. Why did John D. Rockefeller leave, man? I mean, this is not even like, this is like prior to. I mean, Cleveland has a way of pushing out innovative thinkers. And we're so insecure in this city that we step on caterpillars as if the sky is not large enough for all the butterflies to fly. Like we all can win. We all can shine.
That's right.
You shining, Brother Vaughn and Brother Majid and Brother Mike, you shining don't make me shine less. We got to stop thinking like that. And that's why when you, once again, go down to Atlanta, they created a culture of supporting each other. They created a culture that, you know what, I can support you and still benefit. That's the culture we have to create in Cleveland. And I don't think it's going to be hard. We can do it.
And one thing cities like Atlanta and Detroit have in common. In Detroit, for instance, last month, Dan Gilbert is giving the city of Detroit $500 million. A citizen, a private citizen is giving it. We have people, there's people.
For the inner city,
Yeah, the inner city. But I'm saying there's several billionaires in Cleveland that I know for a fact could stroke a $500 million check.
They could write that off.
Why wouldn't Dan Gilbert do something for the city of Cleveland? I think, we have to start holding people accountable. If they make money from the city, they should give something back. And if he can do that for Detroit, why can't somebody who's from Cleveland who has the means could write a check to Cleveland?
Well,
know,
what we did. We came up, and that's been the whole thing about the black economy. I was one of my mentors who was a millionaire. One of my mentors always told me that there's no big I in little you. You know, we all the same. We all work together to achieve the same goal, and that's what we don't have a team atmosphere here. You know, everything is like you said. I live in Ward 4, and I walk out the door because I'm running for council too, and I go out my door and I look out and see what's going on in Ward 4. Right out of my there, the place is just deteriorated. I've raised my kids here. I lived here, and I'm just looking at the place just falling apart. And I say, I got to do something about this
But one of the reasons for that too, Mike, is a lot of the people, especially a lot of younger people, they don't realize how it used to be in Cleveland.
Right.
They don't realize how, but Ward 4.
And I talk about that because see, there was a guy, and don't go. I'm not trying to. I got to give Charlie Carr and Lonnie Burton and all them cats.
Oh yeah.
Those guys. But there was a guy here in Buckeye area called Jack P. Russell. That took care of the Buckeye area. I mean, it was a little racism stuff going on, but this dude took care of the Buckeye area because there was like Slovenians and Hungarians, and I used to see Jack P. Russell when I was little. He had the white Stetson hat and the cigar in his mouth. But he did a lot of things for Cleveland. He did for the whole party, not just the ward.
And I think that's a good point. I don't think the government, you have to rely on the government to do everything.
Right.
I think corporations, and I think Basheer's ward is a good example of that.
Oh, I see it every day. I was on what was a street called Lee. You been down on Lee?
Yeah.
You see the houses they built. You see the houses they built on Lee.
Yeah.
Right there.
I want to say something to you real fast because you said something about Dan Gilbert, and I want to say something. Listen, I'm not mad that Dan Gilbert want to take care of his home. I mean, that's his hometown.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm that's what we're supposed to do. I'm more upset with the leadership that don't force him to pay to do something here in Cleveland, because we've given him tons of money.
Right.
But why would we expect? I mean, why would we expect somebody to do something opposite than he's taking care of his home. That's his hometown.
We help him get richer. We help him.
We don't hold people accountable.
I get that. But what I'm saying, brothers, is we got the money to do what he's talking about. We got people right here who's from Cleveland.
That's my point.
They may not
point.
They may not give 500 million, but hey, how about $1? How about $10?
You got people that can do that, but you have people that can do that. Yeah.
Come on, man.
It's
I mean, we don't need. All I'm saying, guys, is that it's not money. It's not money necessarily. We don't lack money in the city. We lack vision. We lack courage, and we lack unity. That's what we lack. Everything else, we don't. That stuff will come.
We got to get back to that village concept.
Now we've
unity, definitely.
I think we kind of know what the issue is. So what are the solutions? Let's talk some solutions. And Basheer, I want to ask you, what if you decide to run and get elected, what would you do specifically to make Cleveland better?
Number one, man, a lot of those people who work there will be gone. That's number one.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, we have to be more technologically savvy, which means that you have this city that is employee heavy, but our city services lack tremendously. And the reason why is because our technology is off balance. Right. So for example, if there's an issue on Central with a pothole, it shouldn't take 2 months to get it filled. Right. So what we have to do is we have to utilize technology, find the cities across this country that utilize technology well, and be able to copy that here for our city. Another thing is when it comes to public safety, I would like to see that we invest more money into mental health experts. 70% of the phone calls that are coming into our police department is domestic issues. So what that means is just because police don't necessarily need to come, maybe a mental health expert need to come. Daddy may not need to go to jail. Maybe daddies need to get some therapy, right?
Mhm.
So don't locking our brothers up in jail, our sisters up in jail. What ends up happening is the trauma that it creates, the trauma that it creates. So that's what I would like to see. You know, that's one of the things. If we begin to do that, you'll see those changes. We got to become a green city. We got to become a clean city. You know, we got to, and then not only, and let me say this, not only should we be worrying about, you know, what the city is going to do to make it better, I need for the residents to
Right.
have the pride to clean up in front of their homes.
Right.
I need residents.
Right.
I need the residents to have the pride to say, you know what? If we got a little girl that's missing, I need for you gangsters in Cleveland to make sure that our women, our children, and our elders are taken care of, and don't feel fearful that they'll walk out their house and be murdered. Right? We all have a responsibility. Every one of us have a responsibility to make this city a better place.
Exactly.
And that's what I think we have to stop pointing a finger and saying, you should do better, you can do better. No, we can do better.
Right.
That's the key.
I totally agree with you, because that's what I'm saying. Health and safety is number one. Health and safety is number one. You know, we need to take care of our most vulnerable citizens. You know, we need to make sure that our places look good. I teach my grandsons, and, you know, I taught my children, you know, especially like, you know, I tell my grandsons, hey, you know, women take care of the house and stuff, men take care of the community. So you out here, you know, you see this person's next door, he's not shoveling his snow, you shovel his snow. You pick up the trash around it. We got vacant houses next door to us. Man, clean up that stuff over there. Go ahead. And they understand that, so I don't have to ask them no more. They just go ahead and do it.
Right.
Maybe
Another
it's
thing
time
that
to clean up the
I want to do is we have to have a focus on our small businesses.
Right.
Over 70% of America's economy is small businesses, right? So we want to make sure that our small businesses have the resources they need. In order for the city of Cleveland to rebound after COVID, we're going to have to make sure we support small businesses. And with this money coming in that we have, over $500 million, we have to figure out a way that this money touches the hands of small business owners.
But Basheer, I want to ask you this though. You know, they say that, you know, the 500 million, you know, that 300 million is going to the police department. What you think about that?
I don't know who said that. I'll be damned if that happens, brother. I don't know who said that part. I don't know who said that. That wouldn't even make any sense.
That's what someone told me. An advocate, you know, an advocate, one of the advocates.
No,
That's crazy, man.
I never heard of that. I never heard of that. 300 million going to the police department. That don't even make sense. Heck
Really?
no, man.
No.
Heck no.
Let me ask you this, Basheer. Now, who were some of your leadership influencers when you came up? Was there anyone that you kind of not really modeled yourself after, but anyone who perhaps was a role model for you that you want to share with us?
Yeah, man. I mean, you know, the first one is my mother. You know, my mother, man, who passed away from breast cancer. She played a major part in my life. Of course, my best friend. You know, you had people like that I studied. You know, I didn't get a chance to really be close to them, but you know, you had the Imam Wardi Muhammad's, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's, man. You had the Sister Clara Muhammad's. You had, you know, of course, Malcolm, and you know, just righteous men and women who of the past, not even just of this time, not even Black, but just all people, man, who I learned from. But within the city of Cleveland, you know, I grew up at Basheer Jones. I grew up at Masjid Bilal. I grew up at First Cleveland Mosque. I grew up in these places. Dr. Reverend Otis Moss Jr., you know, Barbara Bird Bennett, you know, a lot of the pastors here in the city, you know, people on the streets. I mean, I learned lessons, Imam Abbas over at First Cleveland. I learned lessons from all types of people and who truly provided me guidance and protection.
We try to get Imam Abbas on the show pretty soon.
Yeah, he'll be good. He'll be good.
Yeah,
I mean, his grandfather is one of the first. His grandfather is one of the first Muslims in America, man. Hajj Wali Akram, who created the first Cleveland Mosque, which is one of the oldest, maybe the second or third oldest institution, Islamic institution in the country. So yeah, man, it's necessary.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Great.
So what would you do? What would be your suggestions, or what action would you take to attract small business? Because, you know, we grew up, Verl and Mike and I grew up in a time where, you know, in Ward 4, there were vibrant businesses all up and down Kinsman. All kind of business. There were small companies. There were
Pharmacists, hardware stores, you know.
Hardware stores. I mean, all up and down the block that's vacant now were businesses. And they just kind of went away, and nobody has taken any responsibility, or nobody has taken any steps to try to kind of, you know, return it to the way it was or make it better. What steps would you take specifically to attract more? And there were a lot of small companies, you know, companies that employed 30 or 40 people, you know. So what steps would you take to kind of bring small business back into the city? Because that seems to be the engine of growth.
Yeah.
You know.
Excuse me, I'm moving into my office so I can sit down. So please excuse that. The first thing, the best people to speak on behalf of bringing businesses is by first taking care of the businesses that we have.
Right.
You know, if you know, I've heard people say, you know, they had a goal. I want to bring new business into the city. I want to do this type of stuff. And I'm thinking, well, we haven't done a good enough job in taking care of the businesses that are here. So, I'm sorry. So what we have to do is we have to take care of the people that's here, because they will be the best spokesperson for other businesses coming. I was just talking to a CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company here in the city of Cleveland, and he agreed that even though he's a multi-billion-dollar company and could be anywhere in the world, even him and his company is having a hard time as they're trying to do business in the city of Cleveland. Even they having a hard time. So imagine the issue that the small businesses are having. So I think the first step is making sure that small businesses have what they need, that they can do the processes, that they can, you know, the processes of as they go inside City Hall, right? Even when you go inside City Hall, it takes a million years, man, just to get a daggone permit. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. So that's the key. So let me be more specific with you. Number one, I want to create a small business incubator, which basically means the small business incubator, what that will do is that it will streamline the process. So when you walk into City Hall, there's the small business incubator. Come to this office right here. There'll be a person in that office that will walk you through the process. What are you looking to do? What's going on? Okay, you need grant dollars. You need this. They'll be able to tap you into those people. Or you need money for your for renovation. What you need this, you need that. Whatever it is, they'll be able to guide you. Right now, if you were to walk into City Hall, you wouldn't know where to go. You wouldn't know what to do. You wouldn't know where to get help from. Brother Mike, you know, man, you know, you over in Ward 4. I mean, you know what I'm talking about, man.
I'm building a business there too. And it's like you say, it's tough.
Come on. So Brother Vaughn, this excitement that you feel in me, you got to have somebody who is in leadership, who loves the city.
Right.
Who when they talk about the city, you could feel the excitement, right? If you have a lethargic leader, who in the world wants to come to the city of Cleveland when the leader of the city of Cleveland don't have no excitement? Nobody wants to come, right? Very important.
That's why we need that Carl Stokes kind of energy. But you know what, with regard to bringing businesses back, you know, at one time we had, like, on the east side, we had quite a few Black business owners that owned gas stations and convenience stores. And then the Arabs came in with the suitcases full of money. And now we have like 2 gas stations that Black people own in a 51% Black city. So how do we kind of spin this around?
Well, listen, man, I'm you know, I don't have any problems with people selling their businesses in the way that they want to sell them.
Right.
You know, a lot of people, they complain about the out of businesses, and the out of businesses purchased it from Black people.
Right.
You know, So, you know, they didn't just get it on their own. But I think there's some great auto businesses. I have a lot of them in my neighborhood where they don't do lotto, they don't sell alcohol, and they just want to do good business. And I don't have a problem with people who do good business, because there's some Black people who don't do good business, and I want them out just like I want other people out. So that's not something that you know that bothers me a lot. But I want to see all small businesses do well in the city. I want to see healthy businesses. And those businesses that don't treat people well, I want them gone. Those businesses that are selling spoiled food and spoiled drinks to our community, I want them gone. Those people, when you walk in, you don't feel like you've been treated right, even though you're spending money, I want them gone. But guess what though, Brother Majid? How can I be upset with small businesses that are not doing good business to their customers when the city of Cleveland, which is the largest business and corporation, is not doing right by its customers, which is the taxpayers? So what I'm saying is that if God wills, and this is something that we consider doing and that we do, and if we are victorious by God's will, man, we're going to clean up City Hall. That's the first thing, because everything resonates from City Hall. Clean up City Hall. When you walk into City Hall, it should be an experience. You should know where you're going, and you should feel good leaving. And if not, when you pick up the phone and you calling about whatever, I don't care how angry you are, my people better answer the phone with love, with respect, and with dignity, and they better get the damn job done. Okay? Because why? Because people, let me say this, Brother Mike. I'm sorry, I'll close right here. People need to feel good. And when they feel good about the city that they live in, they become the greatest spokesperson to bring other businesses, to bring residents. And you know what? This issue around Cleveland's population decreasing, people will begin to move back to Cleveland. Because guess what? They only moved to Cleveland Heights. They only moved to South Euclid. They only moved to Richmond. They didn't move so far away. But Cleveland has to give opportunities to the people. So what I'm saying is, when you all are interviewing people, and you're interviewing people and you're talking to people about what the next mayor should look like, I want you to ask these candidates, what have you done for Black people? Let's be specific for 1 second. What have you done for Black people? Because if you have not done this for the majority of the city, then how are you going to take care of it? You know, you'll be surprised at the support that I've received from other communities, because they respect the fact that I am not afraid to say structural racism. I am not afraid to say I got to do this for my community, because you cannot be multicultural until you first love to be who you are. And I love to be who I am. I love my Blackness. I love my faith, and I don't run from that, and I don't have any fear about that. And people respect that.
Well, you know, one of the things is that, just like you say, when you go down to City Hall and you go through there, and it's like a wasteland. You go through there, you don't know where you're at, what you're doing, and somebody said, well, go down here and do this, and you say, okay, then you get lost. But that's one of the things that we have to do is the communication. Is keep that link, keep it going, keep it strong, and make sure. I mean, things happen, and that was one reason why I said I was running, because of the communication is one of the points, because we get stuff at the end. You know, we get stuff at the end where, you know, something that could have helped us. Well, you know, you could have had a roof done. You could have had this done. You could have had this done. But the program over now.
Yeah. Well, you know, in a lot of, I don't say a lot, but in some cities, what they've done with City Hall is they put satellite offices out in the community. Because to some people, I mean, it's a hassle. You know, my daughter went to City Hall today.
You tell him my plan, Brother Brian. You tell him my plan, but go ahead, man.
My daughter went to City Hall today, and you know, the parking is ridiculous if you can even park anywhere close to it. You know, then you got to walk a mile. I mean, why couldn't what she had to get done could have been done at a satellite office? In many cities,
one of the plans that I had, one of the plans that I have, quote unquote, would be to create satellite offices right at the recreation centers.
Right,
you should be able to go to a recreation center and get your birth certificate. You should be able to go there and get death certificates, marriage certificates. You shouldn't have to come over to City Hall for everything. I totally agree with you. And it's simple. It's as simple as we already have the recreation centers. We already have bodies there. All we need to do is, once again, it goes back to technology. It goes back to technology. And listen, if I can go and go to the kiosk at this place for parking, why can't I go to the kiosk and get my birth certificate printed
Right,
out?
that's right.
Why
That's right.
it's simple, man.
And I
It
think a
just,
lot of it is expectation too. People typically, you know, I've managed people most of my career, and people tend to do what you expect them to do. If you don't expect much, that's what they're going to give you.
yeah,
If
yeah,
there's an expectation that people should conduct themselves in a friendly, courteous type manner, like you talk about, and they should take care of business. So you shouldn't go to City Hall and say, oh my God, I got to go to City Hall. You just like, oh yeah, I'm going to go down to City Hall and get my business
yeah,
taken care of, you know.
yeah.
And I think people, they just don't, there's not an accountability from the leadership, and people, you know, their expectation of the people is not very high.
Yeah, let me say this, Brother Vaughn, because I know that we are coming up on an hour, and I want to make sure I say something that's very clear, because some people listen to me, they hear my passion, they hear my love, but maybe you think that maybe there's no plan. And as I told the Cleveland.com plain dealer, I said, if you gave me a fair shake, there's no comparison in regards of work. There's no comparison. In Ward 7, you're talking about over $1 billion of investment we've brought within the past 3 years into Ward 7. You're talking about seeing Black developers in Ward 7 that you see nowhere else in the city developing, right? You're talking about thousands of new jobs. You're talking about a Cleveland Foundation who have decided to move to Ward 7. You're talking about over 2,000 new homes that are being built and the different developments that are being built in Ward 7. You're talking about let me finish, please. You're talking about an open air art museum. Look at the energy boxes on walls and you're seeing art. Why? Because art has a way. W.E.B. Du Bois, he said that art is propaganda. So what I'm saying to you is, look at the work. Don't tell me what you're going to do. Let me tell you what I did. I've been on the front lines. I've led all the marches when things have happened in this city. I've been the first to respond. I have not had any fear. I've had courage standing up on behalf of the people. I'm not new to any of this. I'm not new. So why mayor, if that is the case? Well, because we understand that the mayor is the most powerful position in the city, and it can be used to truly bring a difference to this city. I'm talking about structurally, right? So you have $541 million coming. Don't you know that if you get the banks involved, that can turn into $5 billion? But you have to be willing to work with people. You have to stop thinking that if I got to be the brightest star, I don't want to be the brightest star, because if I'm the brightest star, then that means that the sky is still dark. It's the collection of bright stars that makes the sky light up. So what will we do? Number one, City Hall, we must change the culture of City Hall. We must do business differently. The processes must change within City Hall. We must use more technology within City Hall so that we can make sure that city services are being provided in a timely fashion. All right, that's number one. Okay. Number two, we will change the way that we police in the city, right? I want to make sure that police officers are taken care of and make sure that they are sent into situations that they are prepared. And if not, you bring mental health experts. We change the way that we police. We bring about more community policing. You got to be culturally competent if you want to police in a majority Black city, right? So we have to have more diversity in our safety forces. Another thing, Brother Vaughn, and to my brothers, is that we want to develop on the lake. We are one of the only places in the country that have not utilized their lake in the way that it deserves to be used, right? We have to become more creative, especially during this time of COVID, and how we're bringing resources into our city. All right, we have to become more of a clean city. I can't drive down Detroit and Lorraine and it's spotless, and I drive down St. Clair and Superior and it looks a mess.
Right.
What message does that send?
Why is that? Let me ask you briefly. Why do you think that is?
Brother Vaughn, you know what it is, man. Come on, man. because black people continue to be left out of the equation. It's simple. Right. It's crystal clear. They can't tell me nothing different. There's nothing different that you can tell me. They'll tell me that the East Side is older and no. That ain't it. It's black people are left out of the equation. As simple as that.
Is it because the people of Detroit hold their leaders accountable? more so than
Well,
the,
when you
Hey,
look
Jack.
at Detroit, it's a totally different situation. Much more black people in Detroit. Detroit has a richer
No, I was
history.
speaking of the street. I was speaking of the street.
Here in
I
Cleveland.
know,
Street Detroit. Yeah, yeah.
I know, but you can't deny the impact of structural racism. They'll tell you that Cleveland has been one of the most segregated cities in the nation, right? So even though we're just talking about a street in Detroit, what you're really talking about is leadership, and you're also talking about the impact of the black community. Because see, even though you have a lot of poverty there, the black community in Detroit, as you go back to the 60s and 70s, it was called Motown for a reason, right? So they had political power. They don't veer away from blackness and addressing blackness. And that's something I believe after Carl Stokes, Cleveland ran away from. And let me say this to everybody that's tuned in. Just because I'm mentioning blackness does not mean that I'm opposed to any other culture. It's not. But as you look at history, look at the housing crisis that took place. It started out in the hoods in the urban America, but it ended up in the suburbs of America. At that point, that's when it was considered a crisis. That's when it was considered a crisis. But it was a crisis when it touched poor people, right? So,
Exactly.
so what I'm saying, brothers, is that as we look at the leadership, I just want you to ask a simple question. Whoever's going to run for mayor, what have you done for my community? What have you done? Who can you point to? Tell me what you have done in Ward 4. This is for council members too. What have you done in Ward 4 and Ward 2? What have you done? I don't see nothing new in my community. You say you've been fighting, but you've just been talking. Show me what you've built. Can you tell me who you helped? What is new? And you'll find that they just been talking.
Right.
And I'm telling you, they just talking because I've been in these rooms with them and they're silent about black suffering. So, if I decide to do it, all I ask you is just give me a fair shake. Look at what I've done. Look at what I've stood up for. Look at what I've fought for. And you will find that I was not quiet during times when I should have spoken. You will find that I did not sit down, but I stood up. And I was always fighting on behalf of our community. And all I just ask people to give me a fair shake. This is not arrogance. This is emotion. This is passion. James Baldwin said, to be black and conscious in America is to be in constant rage. Of course, I'm passionate. Of course, I'm frustrated with the way that black people have been treated in this city and in this country. If you're not frustrated, you're blind. You're blind in your heart. So all I ask is just give me a chance. Give me a chance.
Right. Okay. Well, I don't know what else to say behind that.
Yeah, really.
He's asking to say, give me a shot. Let's
We judge a
time
man
for
by his
talking.
deeds.
Time for talking is past. You gotta
It's fast, man.
put up or shut up. I guess
Yes,
that's where we're at.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I would just say, we appreciate you coming on the show. We thank you because you're someone who's kind of been through the fire, been in the mix, been down at City Hall. We pontificate a lot and talk, but you actually have been there and you know from what you speak. So
I'm still in this fire, but Abraham was in the fire too. And God told the fire to be cool. So we in the fire, man. And good luck to you, brother Mike, man. That Ward needs you, man.
Yeah. Any closing thoughts, Burl?
Well, you can judge a man by his deeds, and Brother Basheer, you've done the deeds, and hope to see you in the race.
Mike, any closing thoughts?
Brother Basheer, inshallah, that Allah bless you in this position, and I hope everything go right now. Just wanted to say, I had the honor early in my Islamic life to study under Imam El Hajj Wali Akram, and that was truly First Cleveland Mosque was home for me, and I've been some of the same places you've been, so and have some of the same mentors. So
I look forward to your run. I really do.
Okay.
And I would just say,
I'm coming to talk to you too.
Okay.
Please.
Okay. And I would just say, one thing that always comes to mind is when somebody shows you who they are, believe them the first time. And if you go in Councilman's ward, you will see who he is.
Right.
He's showing us who he is. And
I've seen
you know,
it.
all that talk, I don't pay attention to a whole lot of talk, you know, because
But see, this is
people, I've been hearing talk, you know,
let me
for
tell
a
you
long
this,
time. You know, you have to look at people's deeds. You don't, matter of fact, you can put earplugs in and just watch what they do. You don't even have to hear them.
Rob,
Just
let me
look
tell
at
you,
what
got
they've done and what they're doing. Yeah.
that live on the street. I think it's Lee, right on the next from Ashbury. And like she has an older house and she runs a business out of her house. You know, that was another thing. You know, we don't have the cottage law here, but we're trying to get the cottage law so if you can do low risk food service. And there's new houses right there. And I was like, the designs of the houses were like, you know, beautiful. And I was just like, and everything's going up. And I'm just saying, wow, you know, Basheer got this stuff going, man.
Yeah. I was there. We did a thing a couple years ago. I was doing some stuff with Doug Patterson with Soul Jam and Midtown, and we did a show there. And I'm like, Midtown, whoa. You know, I'm walking next to
Midtown is just Ward 7. I told him that. I said, yeah, I hear y'all promoting Midtown, but that's Ward 7, you know.
That's Ward 7. Yeah.
Well, so, you know, the Midtown corridor, I used to have a store there. They had the Church's Fried Chicken there on 66 before it tore it down and stuff. And they had the Pierre's ice cream and stuff, and they didn't blew up so big.
Oh yeah. So
that's our community.
That Midtown
if you want to know, the worth of a man, look at his deeds.
Yeah.
Look at what he's done. So
okay.
With that, I will say, you know, we want to thank you. Our time is up, and we certainly, our audience, we thank you for yours, and we hope that you've gained some more insight into the battle for Cleveland in terms of the leadership vacuum and getting people. We got some young, vibrant people that we need to get in place. You know, Mike and I used to be able to dunk basketballs, but we probably wouldn't make anybody's team now. You know, but you know, so there has to be a change.
But y'all make great, but you'll make a great coach though.
Coach, yeah. But there has to be a changing of the guard eventually. You know, so I would just say in closing, you know, check Councilman Jones out, ride through his ward, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. So with that, I would say wear your mask, stay safe, and we'll see you next week.
Assalamu alaikum, brother. All right.